missing a period and oh my God, what am I going to do? And oh, she's only 18, she's got an STI. And we were just fine doing one job.
There's nobody walking up to me and like,
That's
ma'am,
right.
your orange juice.
Yes,
or like,
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Don't Talk Back podcast, where us brown kids talk about just the right amount. My name is Ranesh.
And I'm Khushee, and our guest today is a Sydney-based medical practitioner who is known for her sexual and reproductive health advocacy. She's known for her efforts to destigmatize topics like sexual health, mental health. So Dr. Niveditha Manokaran, welcome to our podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Of course.
So I watched one of your interviews where you mentioned that you grew up in a household with parents who were surgeons and like sex wasn't really a topic that you like spoke about at all. So what made you want to go into this field?
That's right. So though we didn't talk about it at home, it was happening a lot. As a young girl, we saw it in college, in university and everything. And then we were like, had to so shush about it. And there was basically so many times when we have like friends or anybody worrying about missing a period and oh my God, what am I going to do? And so we really we had zero help and there was all this freaking out and ChatGPT wasn't a thing. I think it was very anxiety provoking, that whole situation of how we were all left to grow, though things were happening around us. And it's just, actually, I should say it wasn't an informed choice. It just so happened that I did my dermatology, which is a combined qualification with what we call as venereology, which is the study of STIs. And when I first moved to Sydney, it was very hard to find a dermatology position. So what I basically did is tried to see if I can get something in venereology, and I got my first job in sexual health as a registrar. And then I was fascinated how something that we were all shamed for and never been spoken of back home was just, made into a specialized platform where youngsters especially were given like a non-judgmental space to talk about their sexual life. It was seen more as a preventative measure to talk about things, because then we started talking about how you can prevent yourself from unwanted pregnancies, how you can prevent yourself from acquiring STIs or treating them, and then how you are probably going to prevent yourself from getting abused. And then I just had a light bulb moment where then I felt so guilty about being a young doctor back home, where I have probably seen a lot of youngsters when I was getting trained as well. And never once we thought about, oh, could this be them getting sexually abused? Or never once did I use this as a platform of prevention. It was really a platform of being judged. And I remember rolling eyes along with my, professors and stuff like that to say, oh, she's only 18, she's got an STI and things like that. So it was so I had like a moment where I thought, oh my God, I did this whole thing wrong. And I think that's when I thought that this is what I want to do. I want to make a change. Something's got to change. So I think then on, I pretty much moved towards doing sexual health. It's been, like I said, 17 years. And since then on, it's just, that's what I want to do. Just change something that we people were not given.
Yeah, definitely. And in the South Asian community particularly, as you said, there's lots of stigma around it. And you're told to, be quiet about these things, not speak out about them because they shouldn't matter this much or whatever. So being a medical practitioner who works with people with these issues, what would you say are the biggest, I guess, cultural myths or cultural sensitivities that you deal with?
I think we believe that if you talk about this earlier or sooner, it's making people do it. I think that's the biggest myth. Somehow people feel that if you don't talk about it, it's not happening. So if you don't talk to children about sex, I think they're kind of hoping or in some form of denial that this is not happening in their life. And I think that is the biggest myth we have to say. Whether you want to talk about it or not, it is happening.
Yeah.
It's hormonal, it's growth. Sexual attraction is a very normal part of puberty. And so if you don't talk about it, it will happen, but it'll happen either in the right way or wrong way. But if you talk about it, then it'll probably happen definitely in the right way. You'll be talking about right things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I think, is the biggest myth we have to break, that, it's too soon. And if I talk about it, she will have sex. No, she or he will have sex, even if you don't talk about it.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah,
about the
yeah.
ignorance, I guess.
It's more like a denial, a
Yeah.
cultural conditioning. And I think it's more than all of that rather than ignorance, to be honest. They just are in denial. They don't want to accept that that's the reality.
Yeah, exactly. And in your TED Talk, you discussed the duality that women have these days about being professionals and also homemakers. But I've seen in so many households today that even now, the complete pressure of managing the house while also having a job is put on the woman, whether she has to, take care of the kids, or she has to manage the kitchen work, cook and everything. So that kind of stereotype, do you ever think that will go away despite having made so much progress?
It's actually a good question, because I keep debating this to so many of my friends. And, I say that like a joke. I say like, we were just fine doing one job.
I know. It's like we have two.
Now you kind of made us do both the jobs, and we are like it feels like we are doing it all.
Yeah.
I don't know if that will ever go away, to be honest. I feel like, I understand. I think all this came up because, like, when women were doing that job, the whole homemaker thing, it was just not realized that how much of a work it was.
Yeah.
And it kind of led to disrespecting them because they were not making the currency.
Yeah.
And I think it also came to a point where women were stuck in so many disrespectful situations without the currency, and currency became a language of freedom. So I think that's where we all came down to. So now that women were said, no, you got to make your own currency if you want to earn respect. So I think that should actually change, where you can still make your currency, or pretty well now that we've had a tough few years, you can go back to that. But then do we want to? Because household chores and taking care of the children and the entire kitchen and the amount we pay
Full-time
on
job.
Uber Eats, exactly, full-time job. So how do us as society, both men and women, how do we want to manage this? I think that's something which is very curious for me to see what are we going to do? Do you still want to keep doing this? Or are you happy for one of us to take over the house?
Yeah.
While you start learning to respect, or how are we going to do the finances? Because in case somebody's got to leave, the financial system sometimes keeps people in terrible, terrible relationships. So I think those things probably have to play on board. And I feel like there's got to be a change going back for the better.
Yeah.
I don't know if otherwise it's hard. Even if men, let's say, but women are doing this, and now we make it a men-women topic, and then we're bringing men who have to do everything that they're doing outside, which is also very stressful. And then they have to come home, and if for any one individual to do both this, whether you want to balance it or not, is very hard.
It's very hard.
It's
whether
very
you're
hard.
a man or whether you're a woman, doing everything alone can be very anxiety inducing as
very
well. Because
much.
you're like, what
And
if
the
I get sick one
expectations,
day or
exactly.
whatever? It's like, who is going to look after the kids? Who's going to look after the home and everything? And you have a job to worry about as well. So I have seen so many people just like, they don't have a choice because they're like, okay, I have to do this because it's my thing. Do you know what I mean?
And
like,
it takes a toll.
Yeah,
It takes
it does.
a toll on people physically and mentally at
Yeah.
some point. And I think that is what we or the generation going forward or current, have to actually come to a decision saying, do both of you want to do both the jobs? Is this how it's going to work? Saying today is my cooking day, tomorrow is your. We've kind of made it in a very funny way. So it's like, okay, but you still worked today, and today is your cooking day. So is that what you want to do? Or do we want to go back to something that kind of worked? So that's something that this is my debate. So many might agree or not. But I feel like for any particular human being to do both these jobs, homemaking and career, it's a tough call.
Yeah.
Right? It's very different, I think, in other countries like India, for example. Like my mother was a surgical oncologist, and I think we had 4 maids doing what one person do today.
Yeah.
So when people are saying, "Oh, you can't even comprehend," because it appeared like she was doing her surgeries and head of the department. But clearly somebody got the groceries, somebody cooked, and somebody did clean up. And then she ran the house. It appeared like everything is under control. But really, there were like about 8 pairs of hands running this workhouse or whatever you want to call it. Clearly one career person.
Exactly.
It's impossible.
Exactly.
How we do it, I have no idea. But it's
I know. And the thing that, sorry, I have to say one more thing. I have to get this off my chest. But
Yes.
there's one more thing that women in India that differs from women in India to women here is that they have the sort of, as you said, domestic help available to them
yes.
so easily. And here you have to do everything all by yourself.
absolutely.
But the minute you go back home, it's like you're not looking after yourself, look at yourself. You need to put yourself. It's like you can't.
Exactly.
Do I get time
like
for
how?
myself?
Like
How?
when?
That's the thing.
I know. I do have people say, oh, you need to, exercise. Or
Yeah,
da-da-da.
yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm a single parent as well. So I'm thinking, I'm a single parent with 2 kids in Sydney. Have you seen the expenses that's happening? And then I
Yeah.
work full time. And then what you want me to do? I'm like, what?
I know it's like nothing is ever enough.
no.
Like, what do you want me
No.
to do?
No, that's right. And then the standards, because so in an Indian family, like you said, you wake up, you come to the dining table and you have breakfast is served.
Yeah, literally.
And those expectations has to go because
has to go.
nobody ain't serving any breakfast.
No, there's nobody walking up to me and like,
That's
ma'am,
right.
your orange juice
Yes,
or like your fruits or
put
whatever.
your cereal and milk in a bowl.
Literally.
And like move on. What are you like? That's what I'm saying. So I think I actually had to. I don't know if I can say it here, but it's very important because I actually had to go to therapy for this because I was so Indianized daughter, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
and I wanted to keep up that bahu status of the level of perfection that the house is.
Yeah.
So every time, like before, I went into work, I used to take all the wet towels on the floor and give the bathroom a good, swish and a mop, and then I used to be late, and I used to so I had to go to therapy for the therapist to actually tell me, you can't be your, by number 1. Chauffeur number 2, you can't do that. You're trying to play 3 different roles. It's because 3 people were there. You came home to a bed that was made and your clothes were folded and your towels, whatever. You're trying to give that view when you come back home, but you can't. For me to just accept that I really cannot play the role of 4 people and leave the house with wet towels on the floor. If that's what it is and bed is not being made, so be it.
So be it, yeah.
Yeah, I literally had to go and unlearn what I've learned for generations.
Yeah. And what you've been told as well. Is like,
Yes.
this is your job. You need to do this.
And if you don't do it, then what job are you doing as a
Yeah.
mother or a
It's like,
woman
itna
or a
bhi nahi
wife?
kar sakti.
Itna,
Yeah.
exactly. So it's like you're almost letting the wife or the mother or whoever that is you're supposed to be down because gandhi ghar ko wapas aate hum, and it's like, you're like, what? Yeah, so I actually had to go to therapy for someone to actually tell me, no, you got to, if everybody's not doing the deal, you're not going to do the job. No, you got to leave. And then, so.
Yeah, no, I can imagine how hard it must be to unlearn so much of generations worth
Yes.
of trauma.
Yes.
It's like I've seen people say that like generation trauma, it gets less and less as you go, but it also gets tougher, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like yes, it's less because we have worked through stuff, but we work through stuff by a lot of hard work, and it's not as easy as it looks. So I definitely
And do you know,
get
like
that.
younger generations in India are a little bit better off than the younger generations here, because I feel we kind of left with different kind of values and whatever that is taught to us, and we moved away.
Yeah.
And here we are trying to instill that upon the
Yeah.
younger
So we
generation.
still have
We're
the-
still very
the
old.
old India,
Exactly.
yeah.
The new India, actually, like they're like, what?
Yeah. It's like, that's not a thing
that's
here
not
anymore.
a thing here anymore. I'm like, really? You eat cereal? Since when? We were eating idlis.
Like, yeah, we were eating like so many like
Yes,
10
like
different
Indian-
things on the table.
Yeah, with chutney and sambar and everything
Yeah.
used to be there in the morning, 8 o'clock. That was unbelievable. Yeah.
So through your platform, Untaboos, you aim to like talk about normalized conversations that aren't, I guess, spoken.
Yes.
So like, what inspired you to start the initiative, and like, what impact have you seen from it so far?
Sure. So the first thing I said about sexual health, clearly, so that was something that I knew was happening, and we didn't get any help, and the amount of times we freaked out about unwanted pregnancies or STIs or symptoms were just too many. So I thought, well, that's a good thing to talk about. And the truth is, I could never talk about any of the taboo topic till I was married. Because I think we all worry about being judged. So, like, that's the freedom that I have today, where I can say whatever I want and get away with it. And I will be not judged, and nobody will leave me. Or nobody is going to say, how can you talk like that, or shame me? Absolutely nothing. So I think that's my power today.
Yeah.
And for that, certain things had to happen. And while I was going through the process, many things, like, for example, domestic violence and abuse, dowry, or whatever that is, when you go through a lot of things in your life, I guess that's when it kind of clicked a bell to me, saying, now it happens so much in the Indian subcontinent among people, but nobody wants to talk because somehow they are trying to save or protect that marriage and pull the drill, right? So I think it was very powerful for me not having that burden in a way. And I thought, why don't I just use it for a better thing, like to just educate people about these things, because I'm not kind of under the fear of what will happen to my personal life if I started talking about sex on a platform. So I think that's kind of a good thing. So that is what kind of led me saying, see, now is your turn. You are in a point in life where actually you're not questionable by someone or in-laws or whatever, because those are big things in our culture. So I am kind of, in a way, lucky that that's not there for me, and I'm able to do that, which I take it as a privilege, so that I can bring this to people. Even if people are not talking about it, if they are listening to me, they know that this is it.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know.
And you talk about unwanted pregnancies and the knowledge that you get from educating people about sexual health, all the things that we're seeing happen in America over the years, with the lack of access women are getting to healthcare, and, their autonomy over their bodies being taken away.
Yes.
And in this, we've just also come out of an election, and we were pretty close to having that here as well. What would you want to say to the women listening who find themselves in this situation and are looking for ways to either get out of it or, something? It's just a ray of hope for them.
Sure. I think in terms of the healthcare system, we are very lucky that we're not in America.
Yeah.
And I think Australian healthcare system is by far one of the best healthcare systems. We are lucky. I know the system is chock-a-block sometimes. I know there are long waits in emergency departments and stuff like that. But in spite of all of that, I think Australian, the Medicare system is probably one of the best systems we have. And I think the difficult part is for women, like you said, who want to get help, is to not know where to start or how to get help and who to go to. And I really want to tell, not because I'm a GP, but I really want to tell people, I think your general practitioner is a good point to start. Whether it is referrals for hospitals, whether it's abuse, whether it is some kind of symptoms that you're suffering with that is very personal and you don't know what to do with it. I think your GP is a good starting point. And then from there are several referral pathways. There are psychologists, there are groups, there's plenty of help that's available. You just have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And I definitely would like to tell people probably your GP is your best bet.
And I've heard you say before that you have the sort of, not ideal, but like you have the personality of being too much for certain people sometimes. So speaking as someone who is also known as the too much person in her family, I wanted to ask you, is this kind of, I guess, not personality or attitude, does this kind of work against you or for you at times? Because sometimes people say, oh, you shouldn't talk this much, it's not good, or people say you need to calm down a little bit. So how would you say it has worked for you in your career?
It by far has worked both in my career and in my personal life against me. I think it's a good thing. I think my parents, like I said, they're both surgeons, and they were a completely different bunch of people. They raised me brave, or whatever that is. But I think we still live in a very, unfortunately, patriarchal, male-dominated world. So sometimes being a woman with a voice, not sometimes, most times being a woman with a voice doesn't sit very well. in all places, including your family life or in your career, as far as you're like, yeah, that's fine. Yes, I'm happy to do it. And if you want, when you're playing a step low, yes, you're going to have a great career. For all you know, you might even get the promotions and everything. All you need is to say, I don't think that's right. Why? We don't want to do it. It's a completely different ball
Completely different,
game.
yeah,
It's a
completely-
completely different world. You'll
It
see
is.
all kind of things.
Yeah.
And then you will see how much holes are there in laws, and you're kind of helpless.
Yeah.
So we still haven't gotten there at all. So it's
Yeah.
I personally feel both career-wise and in personal life, to get somewhere, I had to camouflage this side of me. What I am today, or how I come across as today, is not what I was in my probably 15 years of marriage. Definitely had to be a different person, a different personality, and just to fit in, just to make things work.
Yeah.
Yes, and at some point, I think it was like I lost myself, and I was like, and then I didn't even realize I lost myself till I found myself again.
Yeah.
Yes, and I was like, oh God, now that feels like me, or what I
Yeah,
can say, or I
yeah.
would say. Well, it didn't feel like that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I wanted to actually ask you. I've seen a lot of women in South Asian communities who they don't even understand if they're changing for the better or not. Because when you confront them about it, they're like, it's okay, I'm growing up, I live with this person. I have to meet this person halfway. I can't always have my say in things. But when I'm looking at it from my perspective and I look into their world, it's like to me that this person has completely changed themselves
Exactly.
to fit into the mold of the other person rather
Yes,
than meeting
exactly,
halfway.
Exactly.
It's like they get to halfway and then they're like, okay, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, until they've completely like disintegrated their old self, whether it's like even little things. It could be very tiny things that you say, okay, we won't do this because this person doesn't like it. So it's like, if somebody wants to help those people, what should they do, or should they not do anything? Because sometimes people tell you it's not your place to say anything, it's their personal life. So as a third person, is there anything we can do to help that person, or is there anything they can do to sort of bring themselves to the conclusion that, no, I have changed a little too much?
I don't think we can do anything
Yeah.
about it.
I was going to say, I don't think as a third person you can do
Unfortunately,
much.
yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's not any third person's role to be doing that at all. Like even if you're not a third person, there are a lot of women who come and say, oh, but how do I make him realize that this is not okay? Or how do I make him do this? You can't make anyone do nothing. Nobody is making anyone do anything. Everybody is doing what they want to do and what they can do.
Yep.
So some women will reach a point in life where how they are molding and fitting, and that'll stop. They can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
So I think we just have to let that happen.
The
and
process
if
happen,
yes, and if it were to happen, and they need support, and we love this person, we will be there for that. That's exactly how this whole process is going to work.
Yeah.
Because some people can do what they're doing for 45 years. Some people can do it only for 15. Because, again, I keep covering different things that happened in my life because I want to just use my story as examples. Because it's just a learning curve. It's been a huge learning process. So I remember telling, again, another therapist saying that this is not about leaving, or this is not about, a divorce or anything like that. All this is about is I want to be more stronger, because I find myself getting too upset these days. I'm just tearing and eyeballing for everything. I get angry and I'm snapping. And I thought all that was wrong because like you said, I wanted to mold and meet midway or full way or the end of the way to keep this beautiful thing that the society has set up for us, right? If you're married and if you're both living happily in like a nice suburb, big house, kids are going to good private schools, and then this is all seen as a tick, she did it all. I'm like, what do you? And this is a dream that so many people want. That's right. So I think that is the problem, right? So all people, like you said, that they are molding to achieve that societal picture that the society has drawn for them, that then they lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
Yes, that narrative. And anything that's going to break that narrative, I don't think third person can do it.
Yeah.
If something was going to break the narrative, it has to be the people involved.
From within,
Who cannot work for that narrative any longer, unfortunately. So I think that's the only way they can help themselves. And if they want to help themselves, there is so much available. There is so much counseling. There's 24-hour helplines. And if you don't know what to do, there is Google and ChatGPT, which will give you all the helpline these days, your GP. You go, the first call, all the 24-hour lines, 2 a.m. when you're crying, eyeballing, there are people you can talk to.
Yeah.
There are people that will calm you down. So, yeah.
So on a bit of a different note, India ranks as one of the top countries where people watch like porn, but like that contradicts the fact that it's not talked about. Like sex isn't talked about as much. So I guess like as someone who grew up in that environment in India, how did you deal with that? How did you go about that, and what made you want to like advocate for the fact that it's needs to be talked about, especially since you grew up in an environment where it was like hushed?
Yeah, and I think you know how you said like it doesn't go hand in hand with each other, because one side they're watching a lot of porn according to the research, and then the other side it's a country where sex is not about. And I think that's exactly why it's happening that way. So if you had sex education, if you actually openly spoke about sex or whatever, and if your school is teaching you this is how it's going to look, then probably people are not looking at so much porn for learning, because everybody is curious, everybody wants to know, and it's a shamed upon topic. So where else and how else do you go and learn, or what, so it starts as curiosity. Usually people start looking at it as curious, and then unfortunately, many a times it can become addictive. And then the expectations also become very unrealistic, and I feel like pornography kind of can spoil a lot of sexual relationships. Like, for example, your expectations are you looking at pornography, it's like a complete movie. So I always compare pornography to Avengers. There is no way anybody is, hulking up or breaking things or flying off buildings, and still it's like that. So it's like there's nobody, there's no unrealistic. 1.5 hours of just exactly going like how it's going in a porn. It's unrealistic. That's a real sex or real sex life does not look anything like what it is shown in pornography. It's like a missionary acting. It's shot over days by different people at different times. So it's not even one complete act that you're seeing for an hour. So
I mean, I think like on a unrelated note again, talking about like the contradictions. I saw a video a few years ago where there was a big gang rape in Mumbai or Delhi, or I can't remember. It was in a bus. I'm not sure the person's name.
Mumbai, okay.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Yes.
And someone went around in the streets of, was it Mumbai or Delhi?
Delhi.
Delhi. And they asked people, why do you think rape happens? And a lot of people were saying that it's because men in India aren't taught how to talk to women. Because especially like I've seen where like a lot of cases where like men and women like are like separated, and they're told, oh, don't talk to like the other gender
even
or whatever.
in classes in school, sometimes you'll see all the girls sit on the one side and boys.
So a lot of people are saying the fact that no one talks, it's like that's not allowed. So then when it comes to a factor where they see a woman in public, they get, I don't know if scared is the right word, but they get a bit intimidated, and then they start feeling like more
manly.
But then I also saw a video, I've seen videos of people, just two couple, like young couple sitting in a park just together in India, but then people come up to them and tell them to like beat them and things like that. So I guess it's a bit of, again, another contradiction. So how do you, like, when you see these kind of things and you see that people are aware of it, but nothing actually gets done about it, how do you like go about that?
Sure. I think abuse is a very difficult topic, and I think there are so many reasons as to why that happened. And yes, you're right, men not being taught what is the right thing to do, and them also not being held accountable. The punishment is not really, like, honestly, to be speaking, it's a country which assassinated prime ministers, and the murderers got away with it. So that's how sad and poor the law is. So I think that so different kind of things play a big role in why this happens like repeated, like now it happens even now,
Yeah.
and why it happens repeatedly, and how come people are getting away with it. I think there are several aspects to it. The other thing is mental health. People don't talk about it. You don't want to talk about it. And then if there is addiction in any kind, alcohol, pornography, you don't want to talk about it. You want to hide it, or you want to say it's not happening. Again, that's leading to the way you're behaving, abuse. So abuse has a lot of, it's a big topic on its own to talk about. So it's sad. But I think some things have to be very clear. Like so the mental health and human behavior, that's all common in all countries. But somehow it doesn't happen so much in Singapore. Why? Because your punishment rate is very different.
high,
What
very
they
high.
would do to you if you actually touched someone is just, there's no going back.
Yeah.
There is no human rights commission after you've done that to someone. Like that's not, so I think that is going to bring a big change. Your law
I
will
think
bring
in India
yeah,
people aren't scared of the
law.
of the law and the apprehension.
And you can get
and
away
everything.
with things. There's corruption. So like I
Yeah.
said, there's a lot. So we can't really pinpoint as to why this is happening again and again. There's also a very controversial topic on abuse. And I think people are going to hate me for saying this. I'm still going to say it. You can edit it out
No,
if you
it's okay.
if you feel like that's a bit too much for people. I know that we are at a time of feminism, and I am a hardcore feminist myself, yes, right? But I always tell people, my mother always used to tell me, don't stay out on your own when it gets dark. If it's like, come back home, at a decent time. And then she always used to say, don't go alone. And she always used to say, who are the other girls? Or who are they? Whose boys are coming? Whose girls are coming?
Yeah.
And are their parents aware? It used to be very annoying at that point. It's like, what? Like exactly like how teenagers feel now, right? So, but I feel that, okay, I wouldn't want to say that was control. I feel like that was sensible. And there is nothing wrong in being sensible, sussing the kind of environment you are in. I don't know what kind of war we are trying to fight where we're saying, okay, I will be dressed in a certain way. I mean, because we are all like from the animal family, and we're all supposed to be sexually attracted to each other in different way. And drinking of alcohol kind of affects people's decision making. So these are all facts and research which has been there. So I really don't understand sometimes when people are trying to say stuff like, I can wear whatever I want. I can wear nothing at all. And I will be standing in the middle of men who are also attracted to me physically, which is normal human behavior. And then say, but you shouldn't. You can't see me that way. You shouldn't. But we're all going to have alcohol and tequila. Cheers. That's how we enjoy it. Party. And then, is this some kind of a test? Like what is that? So this is what I don't agree with. As much as a feminist I am, I think, oh, come on, be a bit sensible. I mean, I understand we're fighting for equality and rights and you want to walk topless everywhere. And I understand all these things, but I don't see the purpose or the weight behind it. I feel like that's an argument in vain. What do you want to, like, yes, you said money shouldn't be a problem. Yes. And you should respect, we can't compromise. Yes, of course. That's a big flag for feminism, right? But then I see that this is going in a way. So I'm like, even I have 2 boys, and even to them I say, what time? Come back early. Because I say these, like, you don't know. So why do you have to stand there and say, I will be standing here and the world has to prove to be a beautiful, nice place and not do anything to me? And I'm going to fight. Why? Do you know what I mean? I feel like that fight is a bit, we've lost track. I feel like that fight is a little purposeless.
So you think that the definition of feminism has changed to the point where it's become more of a trend rather than like an actual
people are
fight for
confused.
what's right?
Yes, totally. I think so. I mean, we still should fight for certain things. Like you said, we're not fighting for luxury. We're fighting for basics. Like you said, money, respect. So that is basics. But then this whole thing about partying and being half-dressed, and then the people of whoever are attracted to me, opposite sex, same sex, animals, whatever, should not do anything. But I want to... well, this is unnecessary. I feel like, what is it? What is that you're fighting for? Can we just all go home?
Yeah.
Like, you know, just, yeah. So I feel like whatever my mom told me taught me or did me good. You know, and then, you know, sometimes people say, but you were not exposed. I'm like, yeah, probably I didn't want to stay in a bar at midnight. I did come home at 9:30. What bad did that do? Like, how do you think I was at a disadvantage than someone who stayed at 2? And then what? What are we arguing for? This is what I feel like it's been lost now. So I just don't want to, that's something I don't agree of for all the feminists that I am. I feel like you are missing the point. Yeah, so.
I guess it also comes down to comfort level as well, because I have, like, I'm a non-alcoholic, and I have friends who drink alcohol and everything. So when we do go out, they tend to also stay out later than I do. I tend to come back home a little earlier, but that's just not, it's not because I see them as they're doing a wrong thing. I'm just, it's a comfort level of my own. So it's also a point of how you see it. If you're looking at it, that, oh, look, those girls are out for so long.
No, but we
and
don't
they're
have to
doing
say
wrong.
that at all.
Yeah.
And it's not a right or wrong
Yeah,
thing.
it's just about comfort.
Yes. And also, like, and safety. Well, yes, you can argue. I will stay on the streets all night half-dressed and you should not. Like, yes, but come on now, okay? Yes, that's true. It doesn't necessarily, it can be thieves. It doesn't have to be sexual. It can be people who are hungry and starved for days who probably wants that gold chain. It doesn't have to be sexual. So it's just being sensible is not a crime. And making right choices to be safe is not a crime or anti-feminist or slavery or nothing. You still went out. You had a good time. Just be sensible. When we went out like 6-7 people, everybody wants to go home. I think you should go home. Like, what's wrong with that? You know? That's all I'm saying. Nobody needs to be judged at all.
Yeah.
You drink, don't drink, have a great, no problem. Take this bottle, go home, safe space, sit down, drink all night. Nobody cares. Just be sensible.
Yeah, no, I do get that. And that brings us to the last segment of our podcast. We, as always, have taken a little bit of inspiration from the father of all talk shows, Karan Johar. And we've made a little rapid fire round of our own, and we call it the Talk Fast segment. So it's essentially the same rules. We're going to ask you a set of questions, and you've got to say whatever comes to your mind first. And unfortunately, we don't have any hampers.
This is what I was going to say. Where's my hamper?
No, you'll get our most deepest appreciation.
Thank you.
Which I guess is better than
that's all.
hamper.
Yeah, 100%. And it's going to reach so many people. And there are so many people who feel and think the way I'm sure I do or you do, you guys do, but are not able to voice. And it's nice to have these voices, you know.
Definitely.
Yes.
Awesome. So do you want to kick off?
To start off easy, would you rather a year of free Wi-Fi or a year of free flights?
Flights? Flights. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. Goodbye.
And would you rather lead a workshop with South Asian parents or South Asian teens? Which one would you think you'd prefer to like lead a workshop about educating them?
Parents.
Parents, yeah.
Yes, 100%. Because I think poor things have missed that whole thing of getting educated, and then they'll go home and teach the kids.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that. So I think we'll start with parents, so that then the teens and the next whole you're fixing the whole generation if you go a little bit back and fix the
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
One thing people never guess about you from your social media.
That I'm I have such a huge traditional side to me, and I do have some values that are very traditional. I think people's like, oh, you know, she's single or divorced and she's a whatever rebel. But then, like, I'm sure if they heard me talk today, I have some core values that are still very traditional, and I believe there's no need to change them. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Being modern doesn't mean like forsaking your traditions or anything.
Yeah,
so
nothing.
your definition of modern is what you say it is at the end of the day.
Right.
So I completely get that. And my question is, you have one day off with no patients, no parenting. So what are you doing on that day?
Okay, that's my every Mondays, let me tell you.
Okay.
I made an informed choice to have that day because
Yeah.
it's so important. So that's my mental health day. So what I do is I journal, and then I love massages. So it's my very,
Yeah.
it's a self-care day
Yeah.
for my massage stuff, go for a walk. I love sitting in a cafe by myself, buying, a coffee and staring at everyone
Like
else.
people watching?
Yeah, people watching. Yeah, so I literally do stuff like that.
I love that.
And then do stuff that I love, like today. I love doing this kind of stuff, educating people, talking to people about things. So, yeah.
Lovely.
So what's your go-to line when someone says, but good Indian girls don't talk about this?
They could, but should they?
Nice. Is there a topic that still makes you a little nervous to talk about?
Yeah, I think sexual abuse. I think it's very tricky. And I think that's kind of personal to so many people. And yeah, it does make me a bit uncomfortable, like nervous in a way, to saying and not to hurt anyone.
Yeah,
Yes.
You've got to be careful about
Very,
what you
yes,
say.
what
yeah.
I'm saying. Yes.
If your younger self heard what you do for a living now, what do you think she would say?
So proud of me. Yeah, I think so. Because she wanted to be a surgeon, obviously, and work with her dad, and and then piggyback him and do stuff. He's a plastic surgeon, and stuff like that. But I think she'll be very proud of how I've come without all of that, just on my own to where I have today. So.
Oh, that's really sweet. That's really sweet. If to be able to say that your younger self would be proud of you, it's such a nice feeling because there come times in your life where you're like, oh, would that little girl be proud of me? Would she be happy if she took a look at what I'm doing now? So
Do you know that's therapy?
it is, yeah.
Yes. So I keep repeating. I'm sure in this whole podcast I've said therapy like 100 times. The reason I'm saying no, it's true because there was a point where when I got like divorced or coming out of it and restarting my whole qualification in a new country, I did feel like I let that girl down, and I was really ashamed and mortified. And then to actually go and now defend or be the girl to say you'll be fine because when you're 44 or whatever, you'll be like you're gonna nail it. That's a journey, and I think therapy helps with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
for
Otherwise,
sure.
we're beating that little girl up, and that little girl is probably shamed and crying and mortified. But that's the one we have to say, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. And this is our last question. So this is a question we ask all of our guests. So Rinesh is from South India, from Kerala, and I'm North Indian from Chandigarh. And we always ask our guests if they would rather choose one food from each, and last season South India won. So we're going to ask you this question now. What would
I'm
you
a South Indian, you know that, right?
Oh, okay. I mean,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
So then we'll just get the formality over then. So
Yes.
Dosa or Paratha?
Dosa.
Dosa. Okay.
I was going to say biryani, but sure. If it's
Out of those two, you're picking Dosa.
Yes, dosa, definitely. 100%.
Okay. It's still 1-1. So there's still a chance.
Yeah.
Still a chance we
Yes.
can pull through. But that was all from us. Thank you so much for being here
you.
today. We really appreciate it. We hope our listeners got something out of this episode. It's one of the conversations we've been wanting to have since we started the season, wanting to have bolder topics to talk about. And we want to thank you for coming on to our show and talking about your journey. So yeah, massive, massive thank you.
Thank you. It was pleasure. I'll get all excited about this. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much.
coming.
Thank you. Everyone, we'll see you not next week. Now our episodes come out every 2 weeks. So stay tuned for another episode and we'll see you next time.